Hey everyone, thanks for jumping on this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast. I'm Kyle, and we've got Trevor and a special guest in Steve. His name is Steve.
Come on, man.
From the band Fortunes. Do you say Fortunes TX when you say your name?
Yeah,
or just Fortunes?
yeah. We just say Fortunes TX. There's actually another Fortunes, kind of like a metalcore band. Little like way different than us though, like nothing. So we just kind of added the TX just to kind of differentiate when you go and search on like all the major platforms and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So Fortunes TX. So we talked about them last year at one of our local band series, and so thanks for jumping on, man. We're excited to talk to you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to be here, man.
Thanks. Big fans of the band. Saw that you guys got like signed to like Upstate Records and stuff. So congrats on that.
Appreciate that, man. Been about a year talking to them since we released the EP that we just released a year ago. Actually, yesterday. It's been a year since we released a New Era of Violence.
So let's talk about that. I mean, we're right here anyways. You went out on tour with Hoods and Brick by Brick. Is that where the connection started with Upstate? Or how did you guys get hooked up?
I think that was like kind of like a piece of it, but they had heard of our music before then. I think my bassist or my guitarist, I'm sorry, sent out a bunch of press stuff, and they kind of got a hold of it. And then it just so happens that we toured with Hoods and Brick by Brick, who really cool with Upstate. Obviously Brick by Brick is on Upstate, so they might put in the good work for us. It was kind of cool. Ray too from Brick by Brick. Nothing but love, man. They really kind of helped us out a lot with that in that regard. They kind of made the connection a little bit better, I guess you could say.
That's awesome. We I don't know what it is, but we've just hit a ton of Upstate bands recently. Like one of the first ones we did was, well, you guys now, but we did Reviler. We've talked about Heavy as the Head. Yeah. We've talked about Decoy now. Like all
Decoy,
these bands are yeah. So we just did a local episode on Decoy last week. So that was dope.
Yeah, and those guys are really good guys. They got really good music. That's another little connection that we have with Upstate too. So it's pretty cool. We're actually gonna go out there into Louisiana and Baton Rouge to play with Haywire, and that's because of Jonah.
Nice. Man, Haywire's popping off right now. That'll
yeah, man, they're doing that crazy tour, man. Like.
What is it like? It's like
quit your
30
job
stops
and
or something
for like 3 months. Maybe it's not 3 months, but it's insane, man.
I think it is. I think it's 3 months, bro.
Yeah, I definitely admire that for sure. One day I hope we can do something like that.
Yeah,
so sick.
3 months. That's a long time.
I feel like they're playing towns that like have probably never had a band come through. They're like some random kid.
Whoever did that, they had a big reach. That's for sure. Definitely. I mean, they're playing with a bunch of big bands all throughout the tour. Death Before Dishonor. That's pretty cool. That Boston connection right there.
Yeah.
I saw Juicebox on a few of the shows. Like, there's a lot of good little bands that are going to be on that whole 3-month tour. We're just lucky to be on 3 of the days too, man. I'm excited about that.
Oh, you get 3 of the dates?
Yeah, we're actually playing in Baton Rouge, and then we're also playing in Houston and then Corpus.
Sick.
So it'll be a cool
awesome.
3-day run with them, yeah. It kind of just fell into our lap, just through connections, because we were already booking a tour, and it just kind of so happened to kind of like just connect with each other, so it kind of worked out.
So cool. How do you feel about, I mean, obviously Haywire's dope and they're hardcore regardless, right? But you guys are very heavy compared to what Haywire is, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely a big difference.
How's those shows, like if you were to guess?
So like early on, we played a lot of metalcore shows. Obviously with the sound that we had early on with Southern Hustle, it was more on the metalcore side. But as we transitioned with the new members and our bassist moved to guitar, we kind of decided to take this next step and just be more involved in the hardcore scene, whether it's punk hardcore or thrash hardcore. Just we just wanted to be more involved in the hardcore scene, not so much the metalcore scene. Like here and there, we do play metalcore shows, and obviously, you still gotta, I guess, put yourself out there to everyone, not just one particular scene, obviously. But I think that's one of the benefits about our music. We can play those metalcore shows and fit in, and then we can play these hardcore shows, and we have enough metallic hardcore to us where it kind of works out for both of us in both scenes.
Do
Yeah,
you
sick.
do you feel like? I mean, yeah, it's interesting to think about your different sounds and playing different shows. Does it change the songs you play live, or do you just? Doesn't I mean, it's not. I guess it's not like that
Not
big of a
really,
difference.
not too much. I feel like we just kind of like we try to mix it up with a little bit of both. You know what I mean? So it kind of like just transitions smoothly, whether it's a punk show or like a punk hardcore show or just like a regular beat down show. San Antonio is like really different in the aspect that it's many different scenes in one. So you just kind of fit in where you can.
So we talked to a couple bands from Austin, like Soul Exchange and Virtue, and
Oh
kind
yeah,
of. Uh,
those are good guys, man.
yeah, they are. They're
Got
good dudes.
some crew connections with them. Are they're in the same crew as two of our members.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, does the scene in San Antonio differ much from that? Because they were saying that like a lot of shows are not really going to Austin anymore. That it's kind of more down in San Antonio. I mean, you're close, right? It's like
Man,
what, like an
I
hour?
feel the other way. I feel
Oh,
the
really?
other way. I feel like they're getting all the shows. Um, but it's definitely different. We haven't had a lot of, I guess, big exposure. I think we just played with Chain Gang and Soul Exchange in Austin not too long ago. It was a really good experience. Probably like our best show that we had in Austin so far.
Sick.
Those guys are solid, but it's definitely different. Um, it's weird because it's like, most states they have like certain cities that have like that big scene. Well, like you can do like a 9-day tour in Texas, and like every show will be pretty
Yeah.
solid. You know what I mean? We've done like 2 7-day runs before in Texas, and like it's crazy. It's possible, and each scene is very unique and different. You know what
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say screw you guys because we're up in Utah, or
I
I'm up in Utah, and we have the Salt Lake scene. And so, like, you guys go on little
mean?
7-day Texas runs. How about you guys branch out? Come up here, spread your wings
Hey
a
man,
bit.
we would love to come up there. We just went to Phoenix. Oh man, the native scene from up there, those guys, they hold it down, man. That's probably one of my like favorite shows I've ever played was in Phoenix. They got violent, man. It was awesome.
Really
I mean, I
sick.
don't, I'm not trying to say like that's what I want everybody to be, but when you see people feel your music in that way, it's definitely a good feeling.
So, I mean, listen, we all know what this scene is, right? We obviously grew up in it. We've all moshed. We know what happens in the pit and stuff like that. And the crowd that listens to this podcast, they know too, right? It's not going to be
Yeah,
anything there.
definitely.
So let me ask you, being the vocalist up on stage, like I saw a few clips and stuff like that. If you see someone kind of get dropped in the pit, does it like amp you up a little bit? Or are you like, dudes, like
Definitely,
take a
man.
breath,
I think
baby?
I think like our music. I don't want to say it promotes violence, but it definitely like the music makes you feel a little violent. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
People are always
Especially
fighting
in
during
you.
our set. It kind of sucks sometimes because it can kind of kill the vibe of the show. But I've learned to just embrace it and just gotta keep pushing. You know what I mean? You can't stop and let the fight happen. I don't know if y'all
So
seen the footage clip of the weave, the girl fight.
yeah, that's what I
I
was
actually
referencing.
I actually stood in that fight. Like I stepped
I,
into the
I
fight
watched you.
because I just felt like I didn't want them to like mess up the show. You know what I mean? It was like our EP release, so it was just like I'm not gonna let anybody mess up the show. So, sometimes part of our job as musicians is entertainment. You know what I mean? I really
you
like to
know,
make people laugh. It just makes them remember you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah, that one band, they're really good, but the vocalist was funny as shit, and people look forward to it.
one of like we had a mural through back when a mirror was at the top of their game, like the respect issue kind of thing. And those shows just got
Yeah.
wild. And one of the stories that goes around here is a fight broke out and Frankie's up there. He's like, beat his ass, beat his ass. And he's like yelling at him. And the venue cut the power. And all of a sudden, Frankie's
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, guys. Can't we all just be friends? Like, we can keep playing. Like, so, you
That's
know, it's
like
like,
Limp Bizkit at Woodstock. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's one
you
of
know,
those
you're
things.
you're
It's
inciting
like,
the
it's
riot, but
fun.
you're like, calm down. Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. You
Exactly.
know, I think it's
Uh,
part of it. It's all part of it, though. You know what I mean? Um, you know, I've had
yeah,
my
I mean, it
nose
sucks
broken,
when
and
like
I'm pretty sure I broke somebody's nose before. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of part of it.
yeah, we had a lot of issues with shows in Salt Lake getting shut down for fighting, so it's like it
And we've lost a
sucks.
lot of venues over stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
guess because San Antonio is so big, we're able to find like there's always like this replacement. But you know, it just comes with the territory, man. You
yeah.
know, it's
I
just like
remember
going
I
to a
took my
metal
wife to a
show and
show.
getting moshed on.
Right.
Sorry, I think there's a bit of a delay, so it's like I'm not meaning to talk over you, but
No, no, you're good. It might be on my end. Our internet sucks here.
I was just saying I took my wife to a show one time and like a fight broke out, and she was like, "Is the band not going to stop playing?" And I was like, "No, they don't care." So
Nah, it just makes you lose momentum. You know what I mean?
yeah. So
And
you brought up like
the show
playing
just
shows down in Corpus Christi. What's the scene like down there? Because I mean, obviously, like I'm up here in Dallas. We've talked to like we're talking to you. We're talking to bands from Austin and Houston, but Corpus is like smaller. And is there like a decent scene down there?
there really is. We book with Grown Booking, and I mean, we just did a show at the Black Monk down there, and it's a very small bar. Um, Almost like 100 people paid to get in. You know what I mean? So it,
Oh,
it
dang.
it's very. I don't know. It's small, but a lot like it's passionate. Just like the way Laredo is too. It's like it's in the scenes. You're not gonna go there. It's not gonna be like 300 kids, but those 60 to 80 kids that are there are probably gonna go harder than those 200 kids. You know what I mean? It's just like straight passion. And then you got to remember they
Yeah.
don't get all the big bands. You know, they don't get like all the big signed hype bands. So it's like sometimes you can make a name for yourself there because you know you're what they get. I guess I don't. I mean, I don't mean it in a bad way, but you know, it's just kind of the way it works sometimes.
I mean, kids just want to go out. They want to have fun. So if a band's
Exactly.
coming through and you like hardcore, like go to the hardcore show, you know?
Yeah.
So
But I definitely I feel like Corpus is like our home away from home. For a long time it's been that way. We actually had somebody die during our set in Corpus. It was pretty crazy. So we just kind of have this connection, you know what I mean? It's just you go through stuff, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, and things just become more meaningful to you in certain ways. Yeah.
that's wild. It's
Yeah,
wild.
he was an 18-year-old kid, man. I don't know. That day changed me a lot. I'm not gonna lie, man. You know, to see
I'm
somebody pass
sure.
away right in front of you, you just and then at that they were a fan of yours too. You know what I mean? That's even more rough. And then, you know, at the time my kids were I have kids, so it was just kind of like, damn, like that's somebody's kid that just passed away. You know,
Yeah.
Right?
so
Yeah.
Wild.
It's
rest in
sad.
peace, Caleb, man, for sure.
Yeah. Dude. Well,
So
go
yeah,
for it,
I was
Kyle.
just gonna say, so how did you get involved in all this then? How was your family like big into music? One thing I've learned about Texas, because I'm originally from Salt Lake City, so Texas is a very like music focused state, so have you always been
It
like
definitely
into
is.
music?
Mhm. To be honest, all my roots just come from poetry. I mean, it kind of sounds weird. I did some poetry like in I don't know, it was like seventh or eighth grade. Everybody just kind of stopped and just looked at me and reacted in a way that like I don't know, it just became an addiction after that, you know. And I found a way to put those lyrics into music because I was really into music at the time, and all my friends wanted to be in a band. You know, when you're like 14, 15 years old, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be in a band and all that. Well, let's just say like we made it happen. I mean, we weren't that good, but you know, I was able to learn how to I guess, use lyrics and put them into music. Like, to be honest, I'm not a very musical person at all. I can't play any instruments. Like, it just ended up becoming what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of unexpected, really.
So
So
when did you
go ahead, go.
when did you learn to like scream and stuff? Was it
I want to say I
were you
was
like
like
in front of a
15
mirror
years
screaming
old.
to a mirror or something, and you're like, oh, I can do
Um,
this.
no, well, I was originally supposed to play bass in this old like metal band that I was supposed to join, and I don't know, the singer just never showed up, so I was just like, well, I could try, and I kind of just tried, and they're like, well, it sounds good enough, kind of thing, and then I just kept practicing, kept getting better. Um, then just you know, people will end up quitting, and you just keep going. I don't
Yeah.
know. One thing for me is I've been doing this since I was like 15 years old, and it just always finds its way back around. Sometimes you think it's over, and nah, it's not over.
So I think you're 1 or 2 years older than us. We're 34. So I
Yeah,
think
I'm
we grew up
36.
around this. Okay. So we grew up around roughly the same music and stuff like that. What were you listening to? What were some of the big bands, influential bands, especially leading towards metal, metalcore, hardcore, and stuff like that, that started taking you
Um,
down this path?
Definitely remembering never. Um, Mean Pete is definitely one of my biggest idols. Um, Definitely Hatebreed. Jamie Josta. I didn't even know I was listening to hardcore. I'll be honest with you. I was like 15 years old, thinking this is the heaviest metal that I've ever found, and come to find out, like the whole time I was listening to hardcore music. You know what I mean? So definitely Jamie. Both of the vocalists of Misery Signals definitely big time for me. I love Misery Signals. One of my all-time favorite bands. But as far as like hardcore goes, definitely Haybreed and Mean Pete had a hardcore band called Bishop. I don't know if you ever heard of them, ex Bishop X.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely, man, all that anything to do with Mean Pete definitely was a big influence on me. Um, I remember seeing Remembering Never back in '06 with God Save Us. It was just released, and they just blew me away. You know what I mean? But those are
Dude,
definitely the
they're
three
heavy.
bands that you could probably listen to my vocals and tell a little bit of influence from all three of them. And that last one would probably have to be the Acacia Strain, to be honest.
Okay.
Vince has been on a tear for a long time, and I just love that grunginess of his vocals. Um, it's almost
So
like you don't
mean.
have to be perfect, just like sludgy. You know what I mean? And I've seen them like hundreds of times, and they've come to San Antonio so much. So definitely, those probably be my big four right there.
That's
Um,
awesome. Well, you mentioned the grunginess of vocals and stuff like that. And I love your vocals. They're very heavy, they're very thick. They sound really good. It took me a long time to get into like hardcore and that type of vocal because metalcore was so polished. And so we were growing
very
up, we were
polished.
listening to a lot of Day to Remembers. We were listening to a lot of, you want to go like the Christian route, the For Todays and stuff like that. It's all so
Yeah,
polished. Defeater was the first band where I was like, oh, I really like this. And his vocals aren't like the polished metalcore vocal. And so, like, that's what led me down that route. And what you're saying about Vincent, like, dude, the Acacia Strain live is one of the best shows you can go to. It is
yeah,
phenomenal.
definitely. I've like seen them over 10 times, so it's definitely been something awesome to
So good.
see. Just I don't know his energy too. He's funny, like he's definitely somebody that like I wouldn't say like somebody that I mimic or anything like that, but I definitely respect what he's done and how he's done it.
Yeah, for sure. So what started Fortunes? 2012, you guys get together. I think you and is his name Travis, your guitar player?
Yeah, Travis. Travis was our bassist at the time. To be honest,
Cool.
I'm not even really an original member of this band. This band started off with a member, a guitarist named Ray from Upon a Burning Body. This was actually
Oh,
his
dang.
band. Um, their vocalist didn't work out. My friend Gabe brought me into the fold, and then he decided to join the army. So like I just ended up sticking with the band. They kind of already had the name, and eventually Ray rejoins Upon a Burning Body, and we kind of just went on our own and started kind of doing our own thing. Members kind of changed and stuff, but yeah, I am the longest tenured member, but technically I'm not even an original member. But this thing kind of became my baby after a while. You know what I mean? Because you put in so much work and you do so much time and effort, and it just becomes yours after a while. You know.
Sure. Did they have anything recorded, or is all the recordings with you?
All the recordings were with me.
Okay.
They never got around to recording the other vocalists. He kind of quit coming to practice, so I just kind of showed up one day. My friends like, just come on, just pull up. Like they all know that I was a vocalist, but I ended up just working out. I think the first time I went, I didn't even get to do vocals, but the second time it kind of worked out because he didn't show up again. So, but yeah, and then eventually, like I said, he rejoined the pond. We actually used to have Buck Chris Buckner from Life Cycles. He was actually one of our guitarists early on. Yeah,
Oh,
so we
dang.
got we got some ties in there from members of pretty big bands. So it's kind of crazy if you really think about it.
Yeah. So how have you? I mean, you've been in it for a long time. Like, and you said it's kind of your baby. How has it
Yeah,
been throughout
definitely.
the years to see it change and stuff? Do you feel like it's hard to keep up with the changes in the scene, or do you guys just kind of, I don't care, we're just gonna do what we're gonna do, or?
Well, one thing about the way I've always wanted this band to be is I want to make music that's timeless. I don't want to follow trends. I kind of want to make music for us in a certain aspect, and if people enjoy it, then it's really a plus. And obviously, you do want to make some stuff, that people are gonna like. I'm not downplaying that part of it, but
Yeah.
it's just kind of the way I went about it. I feel like if you make timeless music after a trend ends, you're still gonna be there. You know what I mean? A lot of these bands they pick up on, the latest hardcore trend, and once that trend ends, it's like, what do we do next? Like, I'd rather, not necessarily. I think the biggest artists and bands, they're the ones that start the trend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to be the one that starts the trend, not be there, like, at the end of the wave. It's always just kind of been key to me is to be creative in our own way, but still kind of fit with the fold of what's going on in the scene technically.
That's a really interesting point because, you know, like Trevor said, we're kind of the same age, and listening to, all the music that you guys have online, it's a very familiar sound to us. And I'm not saying that it's like not a good sound. It's just this is like it makes us feel a little nostalgic for the sound that we grew up with that a lot of kids don't really play anymore because like we grew up with the Acacia Strain deathcore, the Suicide
Yeah,
Silence deathcore, and now
it's
it's
all
like you don't even
slam now.
recognize deathcore anymore,
It's all slam.
and so we appreciated your sound because it was like this is what I grew up with. This is what
Yeah,
makes me feel like I'm a 16-year-old kid trying to learn to mosh. You know,
we definitely try to like modernize like nostalgic stuff that we listen to. I feel like one of the bands that Thick as Blood, um, those guys. I don't want to say they influenced a lot, but like that's one of those sounds that I feel like um, it. I don't want to say like overrated, but it got missed. Like it could have been bigger than what it should have been. Um, Bury Your Dead's definitely a band like that too for me.
yeah.
With our sound, I feel like they're like a mosh band. Got those fight riffs and just heavy intensity.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So let's dive into your music a little bit. So the albums that you have up on Spotify, Apple, all that kind of stuff. So you have the Fortunes EP. This was like the 2012 music, right?
Yeah, it's the old recording. I released it on all platforms. I think originally, I think it was just on Bandcamp for the longest, but I
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
Bandcamp's not what it used to be. Obviously, I mean people still do put stuff out on there. Not talking shit. Uses Bandcamp. Don't take it that way, but we didn't have it on all platforms, so I decided that we should. We kind of had this weird thing happen where we broke up, but we had recorded. but we never put it out. Um, the guy who recorded us, Corey Brenneman, what ended up happening is he ended up, I think, having like a leak, and his whole roof collapsed in his studio.
Jeez.
So he had to rebuild it, and it just kind of was a weird time because we had all just kind of talked about jamming again. And he hit me up and he was like, "Hey, I found these songs. Basically, like I could remix and master them so y'all can re-release them." And that's where Southern Hustle comes from. That was actually recorded in like 2015, and we actually didn't release it until I think 2020, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. COVID's kind of a
Yeah,
blur.
Eternal Hustle. Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, so it's
So
actually from 2015.
okay, okay. This album, I freaking love this album. It's so good.
It's the drummer. It's
War
the drummer. It's
Cloud.
Kike. Yeah, it's Kike.
Okay,
It's our
so
old
this is
drummer.
what I was going to talk to you
Shout out
about, right,
Kike. Shout out Kike.
dude? When we're talking about like that nostalgic sound and stuff like that, Kyle used to have a white Grand Am with a big old sub in the back, and we would drive, and the our favorite stuff was the really low end, really aggressive drums because it would just shake the car. That is what this entire album just feels
Yeah,
like. The
man.
drum work is incredible.
Yeah, and it's all him. You know what I mean? It's our old drummer. He's not in the band anymore, but also Corey Brenneman. At one point he was probably pretty. He's pretty big engineer here in Texas at least. But what's crazy is he's like more for like like Attack Attack. I think he did like Everyone Dies in Utah. He mixed one of their records or something like that. It wasn't really like our style, but we wanted the quality. You know what I mean? And it was a pretty good experience. He kind of pushed us all. Um, I think after that record, I learned about enunciation a little bit better. Like I was still able to keep
Okay.
that real grimy sound, but you can understand every word that I say, even if you didn't listen to the style of music. You know what I mean? That's one thing that I
You
definitely
know,
learned from Corey.
it's really interesting that you're saying that about the bands that he records because, like I just said, it has a lot of the flair of the drum work of the early 2000 or mid 2000s metalcore and the stuff like that that
Yeah,
really do heavy bass
definitely.
and stuff.
Mhm.
However he recorded it, whatever mixing and mastering he did, it definitely gives that feel, that vibe to it. And it's something that I feel like is missing a little bit. Like we don't need 808 bass drops all the time, right? But a double bass that when you pull up to the stoplight, if someone looks over and the car's vibrating, like that shit is awesome. We love that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
So that makes a lot of
yeah.
sense now that you're saying he's recording Everyone Dies in Utah, Attack Attack, those like
That style,
post-hardcore, cheesy metalcore kind of bands.
all the singing and real
Yeah.
punchy choruses and stuff. And then the guy that
Yeah.
recorded the EP is actually a student from his camp that learned how to record, through Corey, and we kind of ended up working with him, and even him, he's done some pretty crazy stuff here recently, and the way we felt when we recorded with him was that like a lot of hardcore bands don't really take their recording as like serious. They like that real punk, grungy, just not level. I don't know how to explain it, but there's nothing wrong with it because it works for a lot of bands. I listen to a lot of bands that way too. But we wanted to like record hardcore music, but with like really, really good quality recording and really clean and just heavy tones and stuff like that. Do it just a little bit different than what most of the bands are doing right now. Kind of like a little
So
tweak to what we were doing.
is your drummer still currently, is it KJ?
No, KJ parted ways with us. He
Okay.
kind of started getting a little busy, so I think it was just getting
But is he the one
too
who
late
did
for
the
him.
drums on A New Era of Violence?
No, it was actually still Kike.
Oh, okay.
He
I
actually
got you. Sick.
he recorded that, and then um things just kind of didn't work out. He had some personal things that happened, and
I
we ended up
mean,
parting
that's
ways
what
with him
happens,
and
right?
getting KJ.
Dude, his drum
Yeah,
work though.
top tier, man.
Yeah, I gotcha. Drum work
I
on here
wish
is
it would have worked
fantastic as
out.
well.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited to release the new stuff
yeah.
though. We got 3 songs coming soon, so I'm pretty excited about that. It'll be our first release with
Oh,
Upstate,
sick.
so
Nice. When does
I'm
that
pretty
drop?
stoked about that. It doesn't have a date yet, but it's all turned into the label, so it's just a matter of them finding, the right time to release it. We're gonna drop a single called Underdog Mentality. It's gonna be a single and a video, so I'm pretty stoked for that.
Oh, cool.
We re-recorded it with
People
Kevin
don't do
again.
music videos anymore.
Yeah, we decided to. We hadn't really put one out in a long time, so it was kind of key for this release. I almost wanted to record a video for all 3 of them for the demo, but we'll see what ends up happening. It's a little expensive, but you definitely got to
Yeah.
spend that. You got to spend that money to make traction too. So it's part of it.
Well, I mean, I feel like you guys are making traction. You guys toured a lot in 2024. You guys had a big wave. 2025 is already shaping up to where you're playing some awesome shows, making some solid runs. What is the 2025 plan other than what's already on the books?
And honestly, we're just trying to take it as it comes. The way we see it is every opportunity given is an opportunity to do something. You know what I mean? And like I tell people all the time, early on we played some shows where, nobody was there, but we made our best connections at some of those shows where there's not as many people because you're actually able to talk to people and stuff like that. So, the way I see it is every show is an opportunity to make a connection, to meet someone. It's just a matter of taking advantage of that. You know what I mean? And when you get an opportunity to play somewhere, to not always turn it down, just to be about it and make it happen. Everybody has lives, but it's just about that grind, that just go and get it. You know what I mean? Because if
Yeah,
you don't go and get it, somebody else will. And that's just part of the way the music
For sure.
industry is.
Yeah, especially today. I mean, the time frame for a band, if you're not producing stuff or touring or doing things, you're forgotten pretty quick, it seems like.
Yeah, and
So
people's
for as
they're
long as you guys have been around and all that stuff, yeah.
people's like they can't pay attention for as long as they used to. I feel like a way to keep momentum
Yeah.
is demos, EPs, 3 songs, whatever. Just keep it coming. Got to keep that material flying out because you don't release something for 6, 7 months. Unfortunately, if the last stuff you didn't release wasn't like the best stuff, people will forget about you pretty quickly, man.
yeah.
So that's part of us just keeping it
And
going and
I
grinding and doing what we can to just get out there as much as possible.
Yeah.
yeah, I hate that because I'm a big album guy. So I hate
Oh,
these
I am
little
too. I'm ready. I'm
teasers,
ready to put. I'm ready to put one out. I really am. I really hope that we can maybe 2026 we can actually put out like at least 10 songs. But
That'd be
right now
awesome.
with the label, we're just kind of trying to run with it and keep the momentum going. We thought of following up our EP with a 3-track demo just to kind of, it's been a year now, so I don't really
Right.
want to just not do something for that long. And I'm ready to get back in the studio again, to be honest, just to kind of keep it going and keeping the momentum flowing because it's key, man. It's definitely
Yeah.
key.
Um, that's awesome. I mean, we're excited. We'll make sure that when you drop that music, we'll try and share it and stuff. So,
Yeah,
I,
definitely, man.
I'm
We'll send it to
looking
y'all
forward to
if
that.
anything. I'll make sure and
Oh
send
yeah.
it to y'all right away, right when it releases.
Yeah.
Y'all can talk
Appreciate
about
that for
it.
sure.
Man, I think it's the best music that we've probably recorded. That to this day, like I think it's gonna be. It's pretty aggressive, still heavy. We just like to keep it groovy too at the same time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about these 3 songs. The single is just real in your face kind of thing. Um, we have one song that it's kind of about like losing someone, dealing with death and stuff like that. I like that song a lot. It's pretty personal, you know what I mean? Um, I just try to like find stuff to relate to people. And then
Sure.
Yeah.
the other one's just kind of like an ignorant, no nonsense kind of track too. So it's a good little mix of three songs. You know what I mean? It kind of gives you a little bit of everything.
That's solid. So I've got one more question for you. Outside of hardcore, you mentioned you're like into poetry. Like that's what got you into writing lyrics and stuff like that. So what else are you listening
Yeah,
to? Are you a pop guy? Are you
man.
a rap guy? Are you a country
What's
guy?
crazy is I'm a pop punk guy. Like I listen to a lot of pop
Pop
songs.
punk.
Heck yeah.
But the reason why is like I still listen to all the heavy stuff that I listen to, and I try to keep up with a lot of the newer bands. But I feel like I try not to listen to the stuff that we play just to keep it out of my mind, keep it away from like accidentally mimicking it, not intentionally. It just keeps me from doing that. I don't know. It's just a personal preference. I still listen to all that stuff, but I do find myself listening to other genres more than the genre that I play, which sometimes I think is kind of crazy. But to me, it's just like if I listen to something over and over again, I might accidentally, not copy it 100%, but do something similar. So I kind of like to not do that, so I can just kind of keep my ideas fresh and just
So let's
still
talk about
raw.
this. Top 3 pop punk bands for you.
Right now, I probably say Koyo is probably like my top pop punk band. I just saw them with Story So Far. Um, Story So Far would probably be right behind them, and then oh man, I probably just say Houston Calls. Um, Probably never heard of that, but yeah, those are
Mm-mm.
probably my top three. And obviously New Found Glory. Big fan of New Found Glory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
guys have had
of
some
course.
longevity too. But I also lately
Okay.
been finding myself listening to country too, which is crazy. I don't know.
Kyle's
It's
getting
something
into that.
different. Yeah, I think it's just like being
Kyle's getting
old.
into
I don't
America.
know, like
Texas, bro. You
being here in
Texans.
Texas changes it. Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
it's funny because like I've always been like a big fan of like Willie Nelson, the Highwayman, like
Mhm.
all the old stuff, right? And then there's like this weird
Yeah.
gap in country where I'm like, nah, I'm not. That's not me. Now there's like this cool revival of this like old school country sound, and great
Yeah,
stuff coming
I've
out of
been listening
Texas
to a
too.
lot of like Bailey Zimmerman, Morgan Wallen, stuff like that. I don't
Yeah.
know, just like Cody Johnson, stuff that I never even knew I would like, but other people kind of put me on to it. It's kind of like I don't know, it's kind of weird because I grew up listening to a lot of like George Strait,
Mm,
George Jones, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, that's cool. Look, we talk about this all the time that like if you just listen to like heavy, like hardcore beatdown like all the time, like come on, there's something there's something going on. You got to branch out a little bit. So,
Yeah, and I
I'm like a
listen
big
to
fan of reggae.
everything.
Like I'll listen to reggae. Yeah,
Yeah, I love reggae too.
same
I used to
way.
live in Hawaii, man. I lived in Hawaii for like 7 months.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
So
sick. What
yeah,
island?
yeah. So, on Oahu, I used to live in Eva Beach.
Oh,
It's
sick.
kind of
That's way
Did you
cool.
get into
it's
surfing and all
a
that,
little
or?
mental. No, I can't even swim, bro. I'm from the hood. I can't swim, but
You live there while you could swim.
I lived there for a while,
No,
but I
that's
never
great.
went swimming. I just stayed on the beach, man. Yeah,
That's
those
funny.
are
Sick.
cool aspects. The
Um,
food's good there. I love Hawaiian
yeah.
food, man. It's so good.
Well, and it's funny that like there's like two branches of reggae. There's like Jamaican Caribbean reggae, and then there's like Pacific Islander reggae.
And then
And
there's
they're different.
California
Like
reggae.
there's
Then there's
California reggae.
California
Yeah.
reggae.
Yep.
It's
So they
definitely
all have their
different.
own like little unique sounds. It's cool. It's cool.
Uh, Revolution is somebody that I like a lot.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
ever jam them?
Revolution's cool. Yeah. Yeah. I know
Yeah,
them.
they go to Austin a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's like the only place they go when they come to Texas is Austin.
Well, that's lame. I don't know. Maybe I'll drive to Austin and see Revolution play. I've been
For
fun.
me, it's only an hour. I think for you, what is like 3 hours?
Yeah, it's like 3 hours. So,
Yeah, but the traffic
but
sucks there,
it's all
man.
right.
It's crazy. It's pretty
I know.
wild. And the
Yeah,
parking
it's
situation there
definitely.
is crazy.
Yeah, I've been to Austin one time, and it's like a cool city. Everyone raved about the food, and I was like, man, this food's so expensive and just mediocre. So
nothing wrong with Austin. It's just not for me.
yeah,
Not for
yeah,
me.
I'm too
I'll go
young.
play
Or
there,
too
and
old.
I love
Too old. It's
to
a young crowd
be
there.
there, but definitely live there. And I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, yeah. So, the last question I had is, you like mentioned you have kids and stuff. Do they appreciate what you do?
My daughter's seen me play. My son's not all that. Like he doesn't really care too much for the screaming.
Yeah.
He's actually into pop punk, but my daughter
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like all the music that I listen to has definitely influenced both of them. My daughter listens to a lot of new metal right now, which is crazy because at the same time frame, that's what I was listening to. So it's kind of crazy to see them, get into that same style of music that you would listen
Yeah.
to. I took her to see Scowl. She liked that a lot.
Oh,
I took her
sick.
to see Movement. Yeah, I took her to see Movement. Uh, she
Oh,
liked that a
nice.
lot too. I think that's all I've taken her. We just saw the Deftones not that long ago the other day. I took her to see Deftones.
That's way cool. That's way cool.
Yeah, she
My
she
son
keeps
was
she
his
keeps
favorite
that
band's
going.
Koyo.
Oh man, I saw them with Story So Far, and it was awesome. They were really good
Yeah,
live.
I
I wish they would have been the headliner
I
though,
just
so they
saw
could have
them.
played like all the
I know. Yeah, I saw them there, and then I also saw them with Comeback Kid on this last run, like a couple weeks
songs.
ago.
Oh yeah, I
And
wish I could have went to that one. I didn't get to
my
go.
son was like really pissed off that he couldn't go, and I was like, this is not the show to take.
Well, it was also 18 and older.
It's also 18 and older, but even if it wasn't, I was like, I'm not. I don't want to watch him. Like I'm gonna
Yeah,
go mosh for Dismadre and stuff. So, but I
I
might
heard
take
that
him
that weekend was
to.
awesome.
It was. It was. I mean, it was wild. It was a great show.
I
But I
had to
might take
work,
my
so I
son
was
to
like,
Less Than Jake and Newfound Glory in August. So
oh dang, yeah, that's something like my daughter would probably like to go to, or my son. Um,
yeah,
my son's not really into standings. Like he likes Koyo and Story So Far, but he wasn't down to stand.
yeah,
he's like, no, I'm good. I don't want to stand up for too long. I'm like, dang.
yeah.
My daughter's
That's
like the
cool.
opposite
Well,
though. She don't care.
it's good. They'll takes a little bit. They'll get into it, you know. And
I
then
mean, at
before
their
you know
age,
it,
I
you're
was
gonna be,
already at the White
washing
Rabbit.
with them.
I was at the White Rabbit at their age already, always going to shows and doing my thing already. So it's kind of crazy that they're kind of getting right there to that same age where everything kind of started for me.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Well, dude, we seriously appreciate you hopping on. Uh, Fortune's last EP, A New Era of Violence. Definitely go check it out. And then new music coming through Upstate Records. No official timeline, but we'll be sure to hook that up. So watch for a single dropping on that. Anything else you want to kind of shout out before we kind of wrap this up?
I just want to shout out to all of Texas, to the crew JMC. Everywhere we go, I'm not in the crew, but two of our members are, and they just always show so much love. We're just super supportive of them, and shout out to Corpus too. Uh, Shout out to all our boys in Corpus. Um, we're just out here trying to do it for everybody. You know what I mean? Just having fun. I just hope people can really start to enjoy our music and you know give us a chance. I feel like we're kind of bringing a sound that not a lot of people are doing. So we really like for that to catch on.
Sick, man.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah. Thanks for jumping on, and looking forward to the new music. We'll make sure to share it, and hopefully you can make a run up here to Dallas sometime soon.
Hey man, we're down. Wait, that's actually the only city in Texas we've never played. It's crazy. The only city in Texas that we've never played is Dallas.
Well, we'll
Well,
have to change that.
Yeah, I definitely would like to change that. I like to
figure
play
it
at that
out.
Halton
So,
Theater. Maybe we'll have to hit you up. Maybe you can get
Yeah,
us
oh,
a
yeah.
show out there.
let's do it. Yeah.
We're always down. We
I've
love to
got
travel.
some contacts with a couple bands here, so we probably could find a way to get you up. So
Definitely. Yeah, we
we'll
got
do
our
that.
homies in Soledad from that area.
But all right,
Really
man.
good
Well,
band.
thanks, and yeah, we will. I don't know. I'm having a little mini stroke right now.
We'll catch you soon, man.
We'll
Thank
catch
you
you
so
soon.
much.
All right, definitely, man. All right, man.
See ya.
Y'all have a
Peace.
good one.